Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Experience Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women. Receive the Lotus Rises Through the Muddy Water practice to release stress and ground in your self-healing wisdom. My name is Stephen Dinan. I'm the founder and CEO of the Shift Network, and I feel really blessed to be with you here, partially because every time I get to spend time with Daisy Lee, I just feel better at the end of it. So we're going to get to dive into some Qigong practices, really understand how to tailor a Qigong practice for women, and also have a chance to explore going further with Daisy in a brand new upcoming program. We'll share a little bit more about that towards the end of the hour. With that said, I just do want to say about Daisy, she's not only been one of our favorite faculty at the Shift Network, she's taught many, many programs. She's the founder of Radiant Lotus Qigong, and she just really walks her talk. She emanates the peace and wisdom that comes from a dedicated practice of Qigong, and you're in for a treat if you haven't met her before. So with that said, Daisy, welcome to today's program.
Hello, Stephen. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here again. And very, very much looking forward to sharing Radiant Lotus Women's Qigong here with everyone.
Well, let's start with a little bit of your backstory. And I think maybe it'd be interesting to focus a little bit on how you as a woman sort of like realized that there were ways of practicing that could nourish and support you in different ways, and how that really emerged into a more tailored practice for Qigong for women.
Well, Stephen, the core of what had happened and why Radiant Lotus Qigong was created for women was essentially coming from my students, my female students. And because of their health concerns with problem menstrual cycles or menopause symptoms, things that they didn't really want to talk to the male teachers about, they came to me, and when I started prescribing certain movements, such as the one that I'll be sharing today, the Lotus Rises Through the Muddy Water, I realized that this need was really great. And I think part of it, Stephen, is that there is especially in this time, there's a need for women to come together and find what strengthens them and empowers their health and health autonomy. I think that's very key, because we've seen sufficient disempowerment and aggression sometimes against women. So it is a kind of pivotal time, and maybe we can say that in every age, but I think that we're seeing so much evidence that it's time for women to come together and find their true health. And that means not just bodily having autonomy over their own body, but finding a way to balance emotional health, mental health, and helping the hormones function and flow at their optimum.
One of the things that we've talked in the past before that I'm sort of would love to explore a little more about how Qigong can really help women cultivate a kind of a softer strength, a more distinctly feminine, but nonetheless very strong sense of yourself. And I feel like you really embody that, and it'd just be interesting to reflect upon how working with Qi kind of gives a different kind of strength than we often associate with more masculine strength.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. That's very interesting, because I think it's a Western mindset too, that women feel like they have to be forceful in order to meet men as equals, and that's not true. More important is the stability that one feels in oneself. So that sense of calm and peaceful purpose, you could say, that has a very different energy when someone is in alignment with their beliefs and their true self. They don't need to yell or scream. They don't need to be in conflict with those around them. And so that inner peace plays a very key role in how we present ourselves to the world. And you can't fake it. If it's not there and it's not being cultivated, then it's very evident to people around you. And I often talk about being a stable lead energy, Stephen, and that is a way of being that in a sense, we lead without force, we lead without leading, we lead without pushiness. So there is not that need for that. And when someone is very stable in their femininity, but also in the masculine power within their bodies as well, there is something that changes people's perception of you, a woman's self-perception of herself. And so that is the piece that I find sometimes can be missing in our culture in the West. Is not to say that, you know, in Asian countries that women are all soft. In fact, that's not, that's perhaps a stereotypical misperception. Each of us, wherever we're born, we have a learning to do. And traditionally, because in certain cultures there has been a level of oppression or repression by women, or by men for women, there is this need that is being served through Radiant Lotus Women's Qigong. So there are other systems that are for both men and women. Like in the last year was teaching Wuji Hundun Qigong, which is partially a martial system, but is incredible for both men and women. And so I felt it was time to return to the women's practices and fulfill that aspect of their empowerment.
I really resonate with your perspective on this, and it'd be interesting for you to share a little bit more about how Qigong in particular can really help cultivate this stability, the stable lead, that sense of grounded, soft, but strong openness that allows you to give a different ground for engaging the world.
You know, it is partially, Stephen, because we actually borrow energy from the earth. And that grounding is this kind of rooting that we do when we're standing or when our feet are on the ground, even when we're sitting. There is a type of reconnection with the divine feminine through the rooting to the earth of our body to the body of the earth. And so that gives us substance. We're less prone to being airy-fairy and flying so far out of the body through the top portal in the head that we lose ourselves in the clouds. And so I've always taught students that it is really this balance within oneself, but the balance between heaven and earth. And so when we're upright and the spine is held upright without tension, but just this soft, gentle alignment from the top point of the head and then through the center of the body, and shoulders rolled down and back and not shrouded and shy or insecure. This is a type of learning that happens within the physical body, and it translates and transfers to what happens emotionally and mentally in a person's body. From there, the grounding through the lower dantian, the belly area, which is our creation center, reconnects to the body of the earth. And that sets you up. Your vertical alignment is between heaven and earth. There are these greater forces that are acknowledged within the practice. And wherever you walk, you have this verticality, this alignment that helps ground and yet enlightens you and buoys you up during times of stress or duress. Yeah.
That's a beautiful description, and I love the balance between heaven and earth and sort of centering. So oftentimes I notice some people on a spiritual path will get kind of more enamored of upper centers, and as you said, kind of wanting to go a little bit more out of the body, sometimes in response to some of the difficulties or challenges and traumas that come with living on this planet in a body. So I love that how you're kind of bringing people back home to the earth and their lower centers as the place of grounding. Are there specific practices that that are really very fundamentally different for women to do that than for men?
There are, Stephen, and it's not just the physical, the beautiful, elegant, graceful movements that are part of the system. There are a number of practices that are very key to the women's practice. And One of them is the Tibetan sound healing. Tibetan sound healing are these 6 sounds, 7 including silence, and they're very empowering sounds because they actually vibrate through the center of a woman's body. Now you can say, well, men can do the same thing, and they can do the same thing, but the tissues are a little different. The hormone system is different in men than women. And so there's particular emphasis on the middle dantian, which is women's strength. The middle dantian is reflected in the breast and the heart center, which when we're in balance, we're most strong there. And so, of course, the key is to find that balance. Sometimes we don't know when we're out of balance because the hormones take over and the liver might get blocked, and this pushes up the energy, and you might have hot flashes or irritations. And so not only the movements that I teach in the first module, but the other practices that are complementary to that. We do a lot of work around the breasts and the uterus, which are, so in that sense, very particular to women's health. And it is the balancing of these centers, the middle dantian, the lower dantian, and also less emphasis on the mind, because when the mind is disturbed, and you put more energy in the upper dantian, that can be even more distracting and disruptive. So we lower the energy into the heart center or into the lower dantian. And if you need to, ground even further by, again, remembering your connection to the earth. So when women are using these sounds, it is an opportunity to use their voice in an effective way, not only to heal themselves by using the vibration and repeating it 7 times as my Tibetan teacher taught, but also to remember that we have a voice, and that to use that voice effectively is the opportunity in practicing Qigong together.
So you started to share a little bit about the healing aspects of this. So there's one is just a practice of grounding and opening, but there's also, it sounds like dimensions where you're really targeting areas that might be out of balance or it might have a history to address. Maybe share a little bit about how Qigong becomes like a more targeted way of healing specific dynamics in your body.
Right, Stephen. And part of that is, women have a tendency to, you could say, hide without realizing that they're hiding blocked energy in the vulnerable parts of their body. So in a sense, the parts that feed others, if your mother, is through your breasts and breast milk. So these channels, the stomach channel through the breast, that run through the breast, can get blocked. And stagnations can accumulate there during in these areas of the body that are more sensitive. And so that is one of the reasons that there could be a prevalence of breast cancers or uterine cancers. And that is a concern that we really attempt to address through all of these practices in Radiant Lotus Women's Qigong. So my students, throughout the years, they've used it to help understand their own psyche, their power, or their sometimes feelings of powerlessness. And so essentially this program is a process of empowering women back to health. And so, yes, it is a relieving of tension in these areas because we do self-massage. We do a cupping routine that helps to dislodge blocked energy, especially from the surface tissues of the body throughout all the channels, but especially around the breasts and the uterus. And so that's it's a physical palpation, a type of practice that pulls the blocked energy through the deep tissues. And at the same time, there's a shaking routine that, increases bone density, but it helps to invigorate the cells. It's almost like the cells are coming back into life and finding their vibrancy through the shaking and cupping routine. And the self-massage, which is another aspect of Radiant Lotus Qigong, smooths out the energy channels through the meridians, the energy channels of the body. So we do that throughout the whole body. And in this program in particular, I'm adding a lymph massage. And I'm requesting that women buy a dry skin brush so they can participate fully in this aspect, because if a woman has had an operation or surgery around the breasts, there's a safe way of doing the lymph massage and, using a dry skin brush in different parts of the body to help the lymph clear out the toxins and accumulations. So this is, when we have, I would like to say that when we have health, we are empowered to make better decisions. And both decisions for our body and our health, but also for the health of the family. And women are actually, they're more leaders than they realize. And that leadership happens often in the family. And so when women are in balance that way, the whole family benefits. The partner, whether it's male or female, the children, the extended family benefit from that internal balance and calm. And so I think it would behoove the partners in a woman's life to encourage them to learn Radiant Lotus Qigong. And it is really not just for one person, but for their community, that it becomes this empowerment for all.
I'd love for you to share a little bit about some of the specific challenges, issues, diseases that this kind of a practice can address, particularly for women.
Well, it's on so many fronts, Stephen, in terms of what it addresses. There is the physical aspect of, female health. So that can range from problem menstrual cycles, whether it's too heavy or, uneven or out of balance. This smooths out the hormonal patterns. And at the same time, if you're not experiencing that, and you're one of the rare women then that doesn't have a problem with her cycle, on the other hand, if there is fibrocystic breasts, or I've had numerous women who had fibrocystic breasts, and through the shaking and cupping, the palpation of the tissues, they've actually broken down those tissues, and so the lumps and bumps can go away. Benign tumors have, shrunk or disappeared. That's really amazing when that happens, and is very encouraging for women to be empowered in their own self-care. And there's also often what happens at our age. I'm 60 this year, and if women are going through menopause, the hot flashes can sometimes they go on for 10 years. Can you imagine that, having this intense heat, and you wish you could go to the North Pole, but they're able to use movements like showering qi and also the Tibetan sound healing to balance that heat and level everything out and experience a level of comfort that they haven't experienced in ages. So it's very effective for that. So those are kind of some of the things that women go through. And as we get even older and become sages, there is a concern about bone density because of the lower estrogen levels as we change, our body changes. And so the shaking and cupping supports bone density. And we need to invigorate the bones and keep the joints mobile in order for the body to maintain its agility. The joint health, the spinal health, all of these are very key aspects of women being and staying healthy. So that on a physical level is what we're addressing, but also on the emotional level. And so we can't discount our internal balance in terms of our emotional health. Sometimes what happens is that women, they when they lose their youthfulness, the, what is considered, quote, beautiful, and the hair changes color and wrinkles start appearing. And so they might feel less than. And so that has sometimes created depression in women. If their partner or those around them, feel like they're not as attractive, and they take that on and adopt that kind of feeling, rather than celebrating that they're growing wiser and more beautiful in different ways. So it's all perspective. And I think we have to celebrate women at every stage of life. And whether we're saging and growing older with great wisdom, finding, the strength of not having to do so much, but being in that kind of presence where you command respect by the way you think, by the way you are, by the very presencing that you are with people. But it's even beyond that, Stephen. It's, how are you when you're on your own? Do you like yourself? Do you celebrate the time that you have to nurture yourself? Because that is also part of what we call, in China, they call it the second spring. Menopause is called the second spring. And I love that description because it is really a rebirth of oneself as a woman, with greater wisdom, perhaps with a little more time on your hand for self-care, and to be of service to your community and family in a different way. So that's why, for me, it's so exciting to teach this and to truly empower women to know how to take care of themselves in a way that is nurturing, truly nurturing. And, we call it self-care, but, self-care is healthcare. And if we don't want to give everything the responsibility and put the sole responsibility on our doctors, we need to take some of that responsibility ourselves and celebrate that we can, and that we have the ability to take care of ourselves.
Beautiful. What a beautiful philosophy and orientation. And I think now would be a great time for you to actually go dive into a practice and really give us a sense for how this works. And specifically, the Lotus rises through the muddy water, which is a beautiful name for a practice. And I'd love for you to guide us in that.
Okay, I'll do that, Stephen. This is I'll describe a little bit about this movement. It's kind of the signature movement for women. And on a physical level, it opens up the joints and helps keep the spine mobile. But it is a symbol of how we might have come through really challenging times at different parts in our life. And so it is as much a contemplation as it is this flowing, graceful exercise. So I'll share it, I'll show it the first time, and then I'll explain further as I invite everyone to join me. Okay. So usually we do a warm-up, but I'm just going to go into this movement because I want to have this share while we're together. So we start with our feet, shoulder or hip width apart. And so the feet are even and they're the same width as here by your hips. And you're connecting through your feet into the heart of the earth, as we were describing earlier. And that energy rises up through the trunks of the legs and fills the lower dantian, or the creation center of the womb. From there, we gently rise the energy into the breast or the middle dantian. And this is to strengthen the heart center so that we remain compassionate even amidst the most intense conflict. From there, we rise the energy to the throat. Now, the throat is not a dantian or energy center that's often talked about, but for women, it is particularly important to bring energy to the throat. And that's because if we don't have a chance to really express ourselves, we need to remember that there is energy here, and it helps the thyroid as well. From there, we just continue bringing the energy to the upper dantian, or the third eye, and we call this the wisdom center of both men and women. And so we fill the mind with inspiration and creativity, all in balance through this vertical alignment of the body. From there, it's out through the byway point at the top of the head and out to a star in the sky. That's a personal North Star. From the light of that star, you surround the body with light. That energy comes out through the hands into the lower dantian. And you'll notice that the palms face the womb. So I'm going to just now move through the Lotus Rises movement, and then I'll explain afterwards. So I'll be doing this in silence. Okay, now I'm going to invite you to join me, and I'll explain the different aspects of this movement. The Lotus Rises is an acceptance and acknowledgement of our whole history from the past, uniting to the present and moving forward into the future and seeding the future. So the body is open and mobile. And we start as if the energy is rising up through the center line, coming out through the heart into the shoulders and out through the hands. So this movement emanates from the center, goes up to the shoulder, and then it moves back in time to acknowledge our history. We turn it around. That's why the hand is up, the shoulder is rotated, and we draw it into present time and future time, and we set it free. Feel the earth and the connection to the earth. When the hands turn, it's your connection to the stars and the cosmos. Draw in this balanced energy. We straighten the legs to meet it. The fingertips just graze over the waist, and we press back and circulate this balanced energy around the body. Follow the pinky and palm overhead. Rise to meet that vertical alignment, and draw all this beautiful energy back into the lower dantian. What happens on the left and the female side must also happen on the right, or the masculine aspect of oneself. So this can represent the father energy as well, or the male energy in one's life. We open and we go back in time. Retrieve what is useful and beautiful and draw it forward. What brings you strength? Set it free. Feel the earth and the sky. Inhale as you draw the hands towards you. Gently press back. Shoulder is rotated. And rise as the hand comes overhead over the baihui point, and then to the side, and draws back towards the center, feeding everything into the creation center. From here, it's both sides. The heart of creativity, and you'll see heart patterns drawn around the body. So the shoulders come in first, fingertips are in. You'll see the beginning of a heart pattern. The heart of creativity rises to the heart's center. Open the chest wide. Rotate the shoulders down. Sink in the kwa. Exhale as the hands draw forward. It's as if we're merging with faith and trust into the unknown. Inhale. Second heart is drawn behind to the side, over the third eye, and the second heart. The third heart is drawn in the sky and shaped back into the lower dantian. So we're going to try that again because it takes a lot of practice to get used to the body moving in new ways. It's an opening of the shoulder on the left, gently revisiting the history of the female side. If there was something that needs to be released, set it free. Let it go. Reconnect to earth and sky. Inhale. Exhale. Bend the elbow, rise the hand overhead. Inhale the energy from above. Draw it back into the lower dantian. Left side. Inhale and open. Rotate the shoulder down, palm comes up. Sink and exhale. Feel the earth. Connect and then draw the energy up from above, meeting in the center, circulating around the body. Rise to meet your potential. Exhale back to center. Both hands, shoulder, elbows, wrists, and fingers flowering open like a lotus through the muddy pond. We acknowledge the pond by sinking in the kwa, merging with the mud, merging with the light of both directions. Inhale and exhale. And the elbows. Inhale the sky, bringing love and compassion back to yourself. And we close by stepping to the left. In the women's Qigong, we step to the left because the left feminine side is our strength. And fold the energy, I'll come back to center. Fold the energy over the lower dantian and do an inhale as you squeeze from the perineum. Inhale up. And exhale and let go of the squeeze. Just relax the whole body. And shake out the shoulders. Shake out your hips and legs. Okay, so that is the lotus rises through the muddy water. And it's just a very short glimpse of a movement that helps women especially process some of the history that might not have been too pleasant, or or bringing forward what is useful and beautiful in one's life. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will come back and we'll talk a little more. Okay. So Stephen and everyone, that was a Lotus Rises movement. There's a lot of details once I start teaching to share with students, but I just wanted to give a flavor and a sense of what it can do and how it works within a woman's body.
Well, it's truly a beautiful demonstration, and there's such a poetry and grace in the way you move. I wonder if you can share a little bit more about like just the way of moving. There's a kind of a fluidity and a grace and a sort of receptiveness that is really palpable. And I'm wondering, how do you cultivate that in how you move through a practice?
Thanks, Stephen. It's very interesting that you use the word receptive. And I think that is part of what makes that movement so beautiful, is that there is an understanding of our receptivity, not just to others, but to life itself. You can tell by the posture that it is an opening of the center line of the body, honoring of right and left, and coming back to center always. When a woman has experienced trauma, and there are so many women that have, for whatever reasons in family system or culture that has that may have been oppressive, I think that we forget, and we need reminders. We need this kind of opening of the body to say, we are present, we are here, we're honoring the life that we live in this unique female body. And so fluidity comes partially with practice. And I can tell you that when I was younger, in my teenage years, even in my early 20s, my nickname was Clumsy in Chinese. And so I think if this taught me anything, if there's a semblance of grace, it comes from the heart, because all the movements either emanate from the heart of creativity in the womb, or they flow upwards towards the heart. And that is really a reminder that if you live according to the code of morality and ethics and kindness and compassion, that is part of heart-centered, not just work, but heart-centered play, that there is this kind of fluidity that naturally comes into the body. Even if one is stiff or starts out with a little stiffness because we're not accustomed to moving with grace or flow, what is so great about practice, and this is why we practice, we don't practice just once every now and then. We don't just, it's not like a birthday where you practice once a year. The beauty of Qigong is that as you feel the shifts in your own body, your desire to practice increases. And some people who start with once a week of practice, they start to do it a few times a week. And before long, it's a daily practice. And so they have more benefits because they're experiencing a level of flow and equilibrium that they don't know how to do without after a while. It's like brushing your teeth. If you didn't brush your teeth, for even one day, it would not feel good. And so Qigong practice becomes like that. It just it's like it's giving your body a daily scrub inside and out, but in such a gentle way that it really brings grace, not just physical grace, but a kind of grace in one's life that shifts how you perceive and receive life.
Well, Well, I still laugh when thinking of you being called clumsy. You're just one of the most graceful people around now. So it's really it's a testament to how powerful this practice can be. I want to ask you a little bit more about like tailoring a practice to specific needs, challenges, or perhaps diseases that people have too, or issues in their body. How do you take sort of a basic form and then start to tailor that to something to make it kind of really individual and unique?
Oh, that's interesting, Stephen. Partially we have to understand that Qigong is a holistic practice and it works systemically. So even one movement like the Lotus Rises has multiple functions, and it enhances qi flow or energy flow. So the life force runs and courses through the channels of the body, what we call the meridians. And so when we have that smooth flow, what can happen is that it unblocks part of the body that might have been locked up before. So this is so important because without, sometimes we don't know where the blockages are hiding. And what happens over time with regular practice is that it works on the most obvious kind of blockages first. So if someone has, a pain in their heart, it will go directly to the emergency of that first. And then later, with continued practice, it unlocks and unblocks another part of the body from your history. And so, I prefer to think that Qigong has a greater wisdom than even we know. So the mind hangs on to how do I use this to solve this problem? And it sees only problems then. But what happens with Qigong is that it's working holistically as, through all of the energy pathways of the body. So after a while, you might have started to fix something in the chest or the breast tissue, but all of a sudden the pain that you had in your wrist is gone, or you're standing straighter. You're able to speak more honestly and truthfully without antagonistic energy. And so that's why I say always that Qigong, and especially this style of Qigong, is a way to balance and calm the intensities that arise in one's life. Women, I don't know if it's fair to say that women are passionate and emotional about things that they care about. I venture to guess that men are the same in some ways, but it's somehow different. When we care, we invest our emotional energy into the people that we love and care for, or the work that moves us. And so to find that inner balance means that when we go out into the world, we don't need to interface in an aggressive way. So I can think of a few politicians that could use Radiant Lotus Women's Qigong, but I won't name names. But just think, how would it be if there wasn't this aggressive attitude? Would you not be more prone to helping people understand your point of view? Would you not have greater, balanced communication where you're listening as much as you speak, and when you do speak, it's heard? So these are qualities of presence, and presence of mind, presence of heart, that is so invaluable that one cannot even quantify it, but people can feel it. You yourself feel it, and the people around you who you interface with feel it. And so this is the power of Radiant Lotus Qigong, I believe, Stephen.
It's beautiful. I just love hearing you talk about it. I wonder if you can just reflect a little bit more on why movement itself, like the combination of movement and intention, is really gives us a whole different template for how to engage life. So it kind of goes deeper than meditative practice alone.
Right, very true, Stephen. And you know what's interesting that you shared is that movement is part of the key. If we do talk therapy, for instance, and we get too much in our head, already that is going to, you know, the the gut and the head, the mind, the brain tissue has similar cells. And so we can get intertwined and, you know, embroiled in this kind of messy way of feeling and thinking. When we incorporate smooth flowing movements timed with breath, this synchronization brings us back into a balanced state of mind, and at the same time kind of triggers the relaxation response in the body. And so it's, you know, talk therapy has its limits because you can talk something to death and never find the solution. The body has the signals, and everything is learned in the body. As long as we're human, we're going to learn it through the body. And so this marriage of self-development, self-care, self-autonomy is a way to rediscover oneself, to acknowledge the past. So sometimes, well, always, we cannot change the past. What has happened has happened. But in viewing it with a little more gentleness, in seeing yourself and your potential empowerment, and bringing that past forward into present time, there is, it's almost like it's like watching a beautiful dance where you're mesmerized by these fine details. You can't put your finger on exactly what it is that has the magic, but it's actually, it's cellular. It's cellular and energetic at the same time. So that marriage of all these qualities within the physical body, as well as the energetic, mental, and emotional body, combines to create that balance. And that's why I love that you had mentioned or asked the question, why does this work? How does it work that when you do movement and flowing movement, especially when it's timed with the breath, how is it that it accelerates healing and engenders healing, empowers healing? It is because of the synchronization and that calming, soothing way of breathing, because the breath is also part of the key. In most Qigong systems, Stephen, it is a slow, smooth, gentle, deep breath. And so those four qualities kind of bring you into a place of presencing that you can't do if you're breathing rapidly and you know, breathing short or shallowly. Yeah, it asks you and invites you to presence in the present moment. And so it's harmonizing all the dantians through the center line of the body and supports every person who practices into living into their full potential. And that is why it is, you know, some people would say magical, because they can't believe that something that appears so simple in some ways can have so many health benefits. And so when they've done studies on Qigong in general, and you know, ask what is it that makes it work? Why did maybe I'll go into a little bit of controversy, because Qigong was studied during the Cultural Revolution in China. And previous to that, it was only known by the royal families and the elite and wealthy of China. Now, don't you find that interesting that it was kept secret because it was only for the privileged few? The one good thing to come out of the Cultural Revolution is that they did scientific studies, because the leaders in the government said, well, if it's good enough for the wealthy, then we have to know whether it's substantial enough in reality and not based on superstition. Is it viable? Is it true that these things hold, the power for people to heal themselves? So they did all this scientific testing, and in fact, they found, yes, it lowers high blood pressure. Yes, it helps heart disease. Yes, it can manage cancer and symptoms of treatment. So it, on so many fronts, both on the prevention front as well as the treatment front, it is powerful medicine-less medicine, I'd like to say. And so that's when it proliferated. It was after the Cultural Revolution that it started proliferating, and became known also in the West, in other countries. And so there's actually millions of people that practice Qigong now, not just in China and Asia, but throughout the world. And I think that's a huge credit to the power of Qigong. And yeah, it's very exciting.
It's very exciting to see this practice really spread as a global inheritance in such a deep way now, and validated by science, and really increasingly so many people seeing the benefits. Well, I think this is now a good time to talk more explicitly about your upcoming program, which we're really blessed that you have made this offering through the Shift Network, and we're really excited to share with people about it. So the program is called Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women, Movement as Medicine for Empowerment, Healing, and Balance. It's going to really build on the philosophical foundations that we've talked about today and go much deeper into the practice, so it really becomes your practice for your life. You can find this program laid out in detail at radiantlotusqigongforwomen.com. It's a long URL, but it's just as it sounds, radiantlotusqigongforwomen.com. It's a 7-week program. There's no prerequisites, and it really is just about whether you sort of sense that there's something valuable and important for you to learn and integrate it into your life from studying this system, and you really couldn't do so with a better teacher than Daisy. So Daisy, I'd love for you to share a little bit on the high level of what you're envisioning for this program, and then I'll read out the module titles. You give us a preview of what's coming in each.
Well, Stephen, I would say that my wish for the women that are going to practice with me is that their health sees a level of improvement that is brought on by themselves through this practice. And when we have health, it is our true richness, our true health and wealth. So that's what my hope is, in empowering women to find their greatest health.
Great.
Module 1, 3 movements to gain peace, balance, and strength in your physical, mental, and emotional bodies.
Yes, Module 1 is the key 3 movements, showering chi, flying phoenix, all these beautiful names, and the lotus rises through the water. So we learn the first 2 in this module, and see how it helps to lower blood pressure and also help define boundaries. So the movement is the medicine, especially in this first module.
Module 2, embodying the lotus to experience your empowered strength, resilience, and beauty.
Right, and the entire module in Module 2 is committed to understanding how the lotus is this powerful symbol, and how not only opens up the physical body, but brings strength and resilience and beauty to the movements, but to our lives.
Module 3, Qi activation practices to awaken your body's immune system and decrease stagnant energetic debris, stress, and tension.
The third module is shaking and cupping. This is a way to release stagnations from the joints and tissues. And so it accelerates the discharge of blocked energy through the energy pathways.
Module 4, self-massage and lymph massage for detoxification, breast, and womb health.
There's some new information there, not just with key pressure points, but how to do dry skin brushing and activate the lymph tissues to help in the clearing of nodules in the body.
Module 5, Tibetan Sound Healing, Part 1, tone and vibrate the cells for increasing your energy and vitality.
Right, and so Tibetan sound healing is this powerful system by my teacher, Master Jiangnan, And this is the first two tones that we'll learn for the upper body and the lower body to really increase energy to these centers.
Module 6, Tibetan Sound Healing Part 2, Empowering Vocalizations to More Clearly Express Your Authentic Needs in Support of Breast Health.
Okay, and this module is really interesting because there's two sounds specifically addressing breast health. So it shows you how much commitment and energy is trapped sometimes in this area of women. And so we want to clear that energy, empower the flow of qi through the breasts and the middle dantian.
And finally, Module 7, refine your radiant lotus Qigong practice to feel grounded and reaffirm your commitment to self-care so you can rise to meet life's challenges.
Exactly true. And so it's a culmination of all that you learned, and we'll go into deep practice and answer questions and give kind of fine tuning for this last module that we shared together.
Well, what a beautiful program. And I know that you're just such a delight as a teacher. You always get rave reviews and people are in great hands. I'll share a little bit more about this. So again, you can see it with that whole long URL, Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women, radiantlotusqigongforwomen.com. So not only do you get the 7 90-minute live sessions, which include a lot of practice time, it's also going to have time to have Daisy directly address your questions, which helps a lot in the refinement of practices. You'll get recordings both of the sessions, both video and audio. It enables you to go back and go over the practices and really take them in. You'll also get word-for-word transcripts to work with, study, and highlight. There'll be some weekly exercises and practices for home, as well as a Facebook community to enhance your experience and deepen your connections globally around this work. On the page, you'll also see a number of bonuses that help to enhance your journey. There's Daisy's video dialogue with Dr. Saida Desilets, How Desire and Eros Are Essential to Living an Optimized, Vibrant, and Fulfilling Life. That sounds intriguing. You want to share a little bit about that?
That was a really fun conversation with Dr. Saida. She is so intelligent. We did this interview while she was in South Africa. And so she's leading safaris there and just being so present because the animals around her are wild. And so it's a teaching on how to be present in one's body, to be fearless in confronting the energies and the different ways that expression comes through the body, including our erotic body.
That sounds fascinating. And then on the page, there's a couple others I want to draw attention to. There's also household remedies for women's ailments. That's Salima Harleston Lust's video dialogue with Rosita Arvigo. That's coming from Shift's library. And then there's a very special bonus that comes for everybody who signs up today by midnight. And this really gives you a chance to tune in, get a sense in your own body and mind if this is the right next step for you. And if you want to move forward today, which you're welcome to do so, you're going to get a special bonus to do so. It's called Sound Healing Practices for Womb Awareness. That's a movement video that Daisy has led. You want to share a little bit about that, Daisy?
Yes, well, sound practices for the womb are pivotal because this is our creation center, and whether we use it for having babies or not, when we have a healthy womb and when we can use our own voice to vibrate this center, there is magic that happens. And not only are we more grounded, Stephen, but there's a kind of vibrancy in the womb. And so it's, as I said, not about having children always, but how to maintain and improve the health of the womb so that it sings.
That's fantastic. Well, it's truly going to be an amazing program. So many blessings can flow from this work. And we've kept the investment really accessible. It's just 3 payments of $128, or you save 10% when you pay in full with 1 payment of $349. The course is going to start April 12th and run Wednesdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. I also encourage you to go to the page and just check out some of the rave reviews that Daisy gets as a teacher. Mastery, kindness, clarity, and a healing energy that shines throughout. Such a powerfully empowering practice. And actually stands alone as the most powerful healing modality I've experienced. Dedication as a teacher. So many people really have just beautiful things to say about Daisy as a teacher and the practices that she can share. So again, you can find all the details at Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women. And if you register by midnight tonight, you're going to get that special bonus.
Sound healing practices for womb awareness.
So Daisy, we're at the end of our time together. It's just always, it's kind of yummy to be with you. You're so kind of relaxed and grounded and centered. You really offer that kind of centered presence. So thank you for this time and for guiding us in the practice. And anything that you still want to share that's on your heart with folks who are considering diving deeper into Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women with you.
Well, just that I'm so honored to be here again with the women and this community. It's always a treat, to teach and share these practices, but I really want to thank you, Stephen, for the opportunity and having this forum that allows so many people from around the world to gather and learn together. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for joining. Hope you got as much blessing and benefit as I did. And so thank you, Daisy, as well. And you are warmly welcome to go further into Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women at radiantlotusqigongforwomen.com. And you're going to get that special bonus on womb awareness when you sign up by midnight tonight. So many blessings and thank you all.